Hey, Ben, I've been working on the Crystal Ball app.
Oh, cool. How's it going?
It's really fun. Check out what I've done.
Wow, Mike, I'm really impressed with what you've done.
Thanks, man.
You want to help me show everyone how to add their own animation?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's check it out. We won't get quite as creative as Mike, but let's animate the crystal ball using some great animations my friend Jake made for us. Then we'll add another animation to make our answer appear from inside the crystal ball. Our animation involves making the crystal ball spin and light up. We want to animate a series of images just like classic cartoons or flipbooks. This is called frame animation, and we'll do this using an Android object called Animation Drawable. This allows us to control frame-by-frame animation of images. But there are some memory restrictions, which means we'll need to use lower resolution images for the animation. Even though most Android phones are more powerful than many old computers, we still need to take into account constraints on things like memory usage and battery life. This is one example of finding a way to work around these types of restrictions. First things first, you'll need to download the animation files from the link on this page. Do that now, and then we'll add the files to our project. Let's start in Eclipse by making sure that the right destination is visible over here in the Package Explorer. Expand Res, and then Drawable MDPI. We're going to put these images in the same place we put our original crystal ball image. Now switch back to the unzipped files, and select everything in the unzipped directory. On both Windows and Macs, we can select the first file, hold down the Shift key, and then click on the last file. Then drag all of these files into the drawable-mdpi directory. Click OK to copy them, and then it will prompt us to overwrite the original crystal ball image we had in there. Click Yes. Each PNG file here in the directory is one frame in our animation sequence. But let's open up ballanimation.xml. This is an XML file that defines how the animation will work. The root node at the top is called the animation list because it lists out all the frames of the animation. The root node also contains an attribute called OneShot that sets the animation to run one time or to loop over and over until it's stopped. We just want ours to run once, so we have OneShot set to true. Each item of the animation has an image file set as the Android drawable attribute. Any image file that we put in any of the drawable directories can be used as a drawable resource. We just need to prefix them with @drawable like we have right here. We don't need to include the file extension because the file names inside the drawable directories must be unique. The second attribute for each item is the duration of the animation, which is given in milliseconds. We're running 24 frames per second, a common video frame rate, so 41 milliseconds is just 1,000 milliseconds, or 1 second, divided by 24. One more thing about this file is that it resets the animation to the first image at the very end. Down here at the bottom is where it says Reset to Original. We have one last item of ball 01. This is so we can run the animation over and over again as we ask our app more and more questions. The duration for this item isn't very important, as this last image will stay until the button is tapped again. Now let's open up mainActivity.java and add the code we need to use this animation. Let's make this a new method so we could call this animation from anywhere in this file. After the closing brace on onCreate, enter twice and type private void animate crystal ball, and then open and close parentheses. Type an opening curly brace, hit enter, and there we have our method signature for the new animate crystal ball method. Okay, we're going to be working with the image view that is currently set to our crystal ball image, so we need to reference the image view in code, just like we did up here for the text view and the button. It's a good practice to declare and assign your view variables in the onCreate method like we've done before, but if we declare the image view variable up here, we'll run into a variable scope problem when we try to use it in our new method down here. The scope of a variable refers to where in the code it can be used. If we declare a variable within a method, like up here in the onCreate method, then it can only be used inside that method. Thus, we wouldn't be able to access these variables in a separate method, like our new animate crystal ball method. There are different ways to address this, but for now, let's just declare our image view variable in our new method. Type image view crystal ball image equals, and then we're going to cast to an image view from the find view by ID method just like before. and then type r.id. And then image view 1 is the name of the image view we added. Add a semicolon, and we'll organize our imports with Command-Shift-O on a Mac or Control-Shift-O on Windows. Notice that the syntax of this line, the variable declaration, and then assigning it using the findViewById method and the cast to image view, is the same syntax as we had for our text view and our button up above. Next, we need to set the image resource for this image view to the animation file resource we just created. On a new line, type crystal ball image dot set image resource, and then hit enter for IntelliSense. This method requires a parameter which should be the ID of the drawable resource we want to use. Type r dot, and now we're going to use a drawable element, so select that from IntelliSense, hit enter, type another dot, and now all of our images show up as drawable items. Scroll to the bottom and select ball animation and hit enter. That's the name we gave to our animation file, and then add a semicolon to finish it. Now we're ready to make an animation drawable object using this drawable resource. On a new line, type animation drawable, and then we'll name it ball animation equals crystal ball image dot get drawable. This instantiates an animation drawable object with the drawable we just attached to our image view. Hit Command-Shift-O or Control-Shift-O to organize our imports. But now we have a red arrow line. Let's hover over it to see the description. This is another instance where we need to cast from a generic data type to a more specific data type. In this case, it's from a regular drawable object to the animation drawable subclass. Select the quick fix Add Cast, and the correct cast gets added to our line. Okay, now our animation is defined and hooked up to the image view on our screen layout. Now we just need to run it. On another line, type ball animation dot start. Now we want this animate crystal ball method to be called when the button is tapped, so let's call it in the onClick method above. Add a new line at the bottom and type animate crystal ball, open and close parentheses and semicolon. Now the ball animation will run when we tap on the button. Let's save our changes and try it out. Okay, if I tap on the button in the emulator, cool, look at that. But watch what happens if I tap on the button a second time. No more animation. This is actually because of a bug in Android, but we have a simple solution. The bug is that Android thinks this animation is still running, even when it's already over. So we can stop the animation manually and then start it again. Back where we're starting the animation in the Animate Crystal Ball method, let's add a check to see if it's running. Add a new line, type if, and then for the condition, we're going to use a method of the ball animation variable called isRunning. So type ball animation dot isRunning. In IntelliSense, the keyword after the colon is the data type of the data returned by the method. This method returns a Boolean value, which we haven't talked about yet. A Boolean value is a simple or primitive data type that can be either true or false, yes or no, on or off, whatever you want to call it. That's it. Java uses the keywords true and false for Booleans, so we'll stick with those. So if I select isRunning, let's add a curly brace, hit enter, and then add a line to stop the animation. Type ball animation dot stop. And in IntelliSense, we can see that this method returns a void, meaning that it doesn't return anything. It just stops the animation so we can start it again below. All right, let's save our changes. And now if we run our app, we can tap the button over and over again. Huzzah! Look at that ball glow. What can I say? This is the best app I've ever seen.
Yep.
But we're going to make it even better. We just saw how to run a series of images as frame-by-frame animation using the Animation Drawable class. Now let's look at another type of animation to make our answer float into view after a short pause.